Welcome to my video. I am known as the rum-soaked pirate. I am a 13-year graphic designer and I am a 4-year 3D modeler and animator. And basically what I want to do is show you guys basic things in Maya. Let's say you have a curiosity of how to begin a project that has only one view. Basically, normally I suggest that you do research online to find basically what you're trying to create, but sometimes it's impossible. Sometimes people just take a side photo or an angle photo, which depending on what you're trying to do might or might not work. However, I'm gonna work with a perfect clean side photo. As you can see, we're gonna dig in. Oh, before I begin, I am using Mac. As you can tell, I'm using Mac, and I'm using a Wacom Intuos Pro Large. Because with Mac the mouse is a little bit more difficult to manage, so I'd rather use the drawing tablet. If you have Windows, when I say Alt is Option, and when I say Command, you guys use Control. Basically should know the difference more or less. If I make a mistake, I do apologize. This is my first tutorial uploading for you guys to follow through. Again, let's dig in. So as you can see here to my left side, if I press H, I have already implemented the side view that I want. If you do not know how to do this, what you will do is you have the name of the viewport that you're using. So we have perspective, which is great, the top view, the front view, and we have the side view. Now, I love working with Maya instead of 3ds Max, and I'm going to tell you why once I import the reference image and set it up and start modeling. I'll explain to you why I like this better. If you do not know how to do this, you go to the side that you want and you press view, import image, image plane, import image, and all you do is go to the folder where you want to find what you want to create in 3D. Let's scroll down. I've done a lot of work, so some of this stuff is nope, it should be higher up. Let's see what I'm sorry guys, but this is a part of modeling. You have to find what you want to work on. Anyway, let's see what I have. That's another screenshot. Anyway, this is how you do it. I'm going to go with the one I already have imported, but you would select it and press open and it would import it. Once you import it, it's going to look a certain way. You can stretch it, make it bigger. If you select it and press R, you can scale it. In my case, it's not letting me do anything because I've already done the pre-process of locking the reference image, but you do that before you lock it. So let's dig in. Before you begin, make sure that you go into File, Maya Preferences. You go into Settings and you make sure that you're in inches. Because if you make it anything else, it's going to be very small when you try to get it printed. 3D printed or get texture maps is going to be a little weird. So let's begin. You just press inches and then you press save and you're ready to go. If you want to focus on a certain viewport, you just hover over it and press the space bar. Bam. Now let's begin. So normally when it's something this complicated, in this video I'm only going to cover creating the butt, which I've already done, but I just want to show you guys how I would proceed to do this. Again, there are many ways. If you find something that works better for you, you can go right ahead. This is just a guide to let you get your feet wet. The first things I'm going to do is I'm going to switch here from FX to modeling, because if you don't have that, everything changes and it works very differently. So if I go to FX, you'll notice that the menu changes, animation, FX, everything changes depending on what you have selected. So right now I'm modeling. I'm going to select a plane. If you hover over it, it'll tell you what it is, a polygon plane. It's inserted right in the middle of the viewport. I'm going to press E. That shows you the rotation gimbal. If I hold down J, it'll rotate in increments So you see that red line? It's up. You want it facing towards you, and there you got the plane facing you perfectly. If you want to make sure, press spacebar and look at the other angles. It'll be flat. The next thing you want to do is, this is too many squares for you to start beginning the blackout of the butt of this Tommy gun. So if you go to your right and you press Attribute Editor and you press Polyplane 1, which is, this is what we're working with, you reduce the subdivisions. If when you start, it's gonna look like this, which most likely it will, all you gotta do is, with that selected, go to Shading and put X-Ray. And then you can also do shading, wireframe on shaded, and I'll show you how that looks when you're working in a bit. So I'm gonna hold down I believe it's left click. Again, I'm using my Wacom and I do this automatically. Let me verify that. Let me check my pen settings. Okay, so it's right click, guys. I'm sorry. So you're gonna right click and object mode. You're gonna press W and you're gonna drag it over to where we're gonna start. In my case, I want to start here, right? So if you hold down Option and right click and drag, you can zoom in. And if you hold down Option and middle click, you can drag the whole canvas. What I was saying about this being Maya being better than 3ds Max, when you're on side view, you want it to be perfectly focused on side view, right? You don't want it to twist by mistake and then you have a perspective or an orthographic view. When you use 3ds Max, you're gonna have that problem all the time. The viewports flip and then you don't know which one is orthographic, perspective. We don't like that. Here, if I press Alt, click and drag, it's gonna give you a warning. It cannot is locked. That's what you want because you want your side view to never change. So here, let's go. So we're gonna take the right click vertex. We're gonna drag these two, slide it over. Sorry, select those two. You're gonna slide it over to about there. You're gonna take this one here and you're gonna push it to about there, and you're gonna drag this one down. Basically, I'm trying to get a feel of the shape, so I think I might go a little more because I see more wood here. So let's say I am content with that. I'm gonna leave it there. Now I'm gonna right click edge. I'm gonna select this edge. I'm gonna hold down shift click and drag and it automatically extrudes it, guys. There's no guessing. There's no, trying to figure out if it's extruding or not, where you have to find it. It's right in front of your face. Once you do that, it's gonna be right there for you, which is great. You guys don't know how horrible it was me learning 3ds Max and having to figure out where everything was. Again, I'm going to shift click and drag and shift click and drag one more time, and I'm going to edit these vertices. So I'm going to push this one down to there. I'm going to push that single one here, and I'm going to pop this one up here, and I'm going to drag this one and push it right there. Right now, I'm not worried about the curving of that edge because I'm going to fix that, and I'm going to insert more edge loops here. And for this circle, I'll show you how to do it. So let's keep going. Edge, shift click and drag to about, let's go here. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to right click vertex. I'm going to drag it down to about here. Here I'm going to insert edge loops, so I'm not concerned about that. I just want to make sure that I got the basic. And the reason I stopped this here and didn't go all the way back is because we're going to have to add an insert for this shape here. So we're going to need those supporting edges. So let's shift click and drag. Shift click and drag here. Shift click and drag one more time. And then shift click and drag all the way to the end. Now, we're going to push these straight up. One here. One here. one here, and one about here. Okay, we're gonna do the same thing with this. We're gonna push this one down to that corner, and we're just gonna push this one down about here. Yep, that's good for me. And I'm gonna mess with this one a bit and drag it over. And what I try to do normally is keep the edges as equally separated as possible. And I do this because when you try to add edge loops across here, it might form a sharp edge that you don't want, or you know, if you're gonna add a curve here, it's gonna be too close and it's gonna give you too much problems. Now, let's correct this and correct this corner here before we do anything else. The first thing you want to do is mesh tools, insert edge loop, and you're going to click the box next to it. Straight out of the box normally is set to what it is now, which is here, the relative distance from the edge. And so if we normally want to reset the tool, in my case right now I don't need that. I want my own multiple. So here I'm going to insert about 5. So I'm going to press 5 and enter, and I'm going to click. Here I want the same thing around, let's make it 6. Sorry, 6, enter, and place 6 edge loops here. We can close this because we don't need it right now. Right click vertex, and all we're going to do is zoom in. You're going to press W, and you're going to start lining up these edge loops to where they're supposed to go, as close as possible right now. You want to find that silhouette and your geometry match. So this here is okay. I can't, you know what, let's push this. All right, let's push this one here. Let's keep that one. And we're gonna insert, like that. This is what I was explaining earlier. So if you double click, reset, you can insert just one here and drag it where you want it. Right click vertex, I'm going to press W, I'm going to drag that a little bit down, and this one a little bit in from the middle here. And then I'm going to insert about 4 here. So back to multiple, 4, enter, and I want around 4 here. Right click vertex W, and I'm going to try to get these as much as I can to follow that contour of the reference image. So I'm happy with that. And this one, the only reason I didn't add too many is because I'm going to show you something else that you can do. So I right click and press edge, and if I click here, select that one, shift right click, you can get bevel edge. And if you, okay, before I do what I'm about to do, this little circle here, the more filled it is, the faster it's going to do things, and it can actually crash your Maya if you don't know what you're doing. I personally click it a few times till it gets to the Pac-Man mouth is what I call it. And I add one more segment. And here we go. Vertex. I'm happy with that. Now we're going to continue editing the contour of these vertices. So I'm just clicking and dragging. I'm not doing anything special. Click and drag. Click and drag, click and drag. Again, we're just gonna focus on the butt in this tutorial. Then I'm gonna take you to how to UV and then export it to 3ds Max and show you that the geometry is nice and clean. So I'm gonna keep click and dragging to about there. I'm very happy with that. I'm happy with this. So now let's go to the crossing edge loops. So many people like to use booleans. Depending, to me it's better to do it yourself and get it out the way. So let me show you what I mean. So I have a vertex here that's a little bit high, and I think it's this one. Yeah. Okay. So the first thing you're gonna do is mesh tool, insert an edge loop. You want one right in the middle. Oops. You see what happens if you don't reset it? You get too many lines that you don't want. But actually, I'm happy with that. Let's keep that because we're going to have to form this edge anyway, so it works out for us. However, here, it's not doing what I want. So before we do that, since we made a good thing out of not a mistake, but something that we didn't anticipate, let's just work with that. Let's push that in. Here, here, here. Let's push this one out to get a nice little curve. And I'm going to take this one and I'm going to push it here. And I'm going to try to curve this out more. Okay, now you see this here? This is going to be we're going to make a circle out of that. I'm going to show you a tool that naturally comes with Maya now that is going to simplify the way you work. In 3ds Max, you have to download a plugin to be able to do this. With Maya, it comes automatically. So I'm going to double click. I'm going to reset this and start working on what I need. So I'm going to insert one here. I'm going to press R and I'm going to drag it this way to straighten it out perfectly. I'm going to do the same thing here, right around there. R, and I'm going to stretch it out and I'm going to move it over. Just a little bit right there is good for me. And I'm going to work with my vertices. So I'm going to take these two and push it down. These two push it down. So now we have a nice clean silhouette. We haven't gotten to this part, but if you don't believe that it's nice and clean, if you come to shading and press X-ray, it's perfectly around that silhouette. So let's press Command Z and go, let's go back to X-ray. What we're gonna do here is, let's finish working with these vertices before I show you how to make those circles. I'm gonna come here, push here, push here. As you can see, we're gonna need more supporting edges here, but right now I'm happy with that. So let's do the circle first and then I'll show you how this works. So we're gonna need one in the middle here. To make the circle, we need at least 4 squares in this manner. Let's press R, see if it straightens out. Yeah. What you can also do is select those and press R to straighten it out. Press W and push it up. Press R and flatten it. Press R and flatten that. And then bring it down to match the outside of the circle. Vertex, we're going to push this a little bit closer to where the edge of that circle is. Right click, object mode. Normally, before you start any of this, you should create a project file, which later on I will be uploading a video of how to do. And saving, again, I'm not saving none of this. I'm just showing you guys how to get, an idea of how to do something that's complicated in as little time as possible. So now I'm gonna need a few more here to get a nice round, because this is gonna give me a jagged circle, which is like what you would see in Tomb Raider when you would see the game. But that was in the past. Now we have Xbox working with millions of triangles. So this is gonna be good for the future to work with something that's clean and smooth. So I'm gonna insert a few more edge loops before I do the circle. I'm gonna come to multiple and I'm gonna change the 2 to a 1. Enter. And I want one here, 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 and at the top. Why am I adding these? Because again, if you zoom in and look at this, we don't want this should be closer, guys. You see, this is why sometimes it's good to do these tutorials, because anything that pops up can be taken care of at the moment. Let me push this a little more. Let me push in more here, here. You know what? I think that's fine. Let me just keep this like this. I can push this one in up top. And let's give this a bit of a rounded edge here. We don't want it. The point is to get this here, that nice smoothness. That is not only going to help us out when we do this, because we're going to add 2 more here. So we can get a perfect circle. So you see, I want to focus on that square there. That's why I made it nice and square. And then when I come down here, right click vertex. I want to finish working this edge as much as I can. So I'm going to push this here, push this here, and I'm going to shift, I'm sorry, I'm going to right click edge, double click, shift right click, bevel that edge. Now, this might not work for me, you see, it stops there, so that's not good. So let's go back. Mesh tool, insert edge loop. I'm going to insert one more, and here I'm going to have to add 2. So I'm going to change that to a 2, and I'm going to add those 2 there. Okay, this should give us basically what we need to finish the butt, and the end of the butt. Vertex, W, I'm going to pop that boy there, one there, and one right around, whoops, you see? So you have to be careful when you select and drag. So I'm happy with that. I'm pretty happy with that. That we can just duplicate later and make. So now here we don't have any issues, any big issues anyway. This is something that we can just click and drag and make more curved. Again, if you see me doing little things like this in my tutorials, it's because I'm very picky. I don't like making garbage models. And to be honest with you, some people want you to hurry up and make models, but they don't understand that some of us still believe in quality work, and we don't like to turn in garbage. We like to make sure everything's correct. So we're gonna select face. I'm gonna press Q. I'm gonna select all those squares that I made earlier. Shift, right click, and here comes the front part, circularize. So now we can do radial offset. So let's say if it's too big, we can make it smaller. I usually leave a bit around it, press W and center it around the circle, because this is going to give you my supporting edge. If you don't like it to be this jagged, you can add more edge loops in here, only in that section, which let me show you what happens. Object mode, mesh tools, insert edge loop, and I'm gonna reset this to 1. Remember, I'm equal multiplier. So just 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. It doesn't affect your model in any way. You can nitpick if you want to take those out, but that's up to you. Face, Q, I'm going to select the first 4. And if you hold down Shift and the period button, and if you hold down Shift and the comma, it reduces it. So I'm happy with that. Without doing anything else, I'm going to Shift right click and circularize again. Now we have a perfect circle. If you look at that, you get a perfect circle. I'm going to get it here. I'm going to press Command E, R, and I'm going to drag that into where the actual hole begins. And I'm going to leave that right there. I'm going to press Object Mode. Why didn't I go into depth and push it in? Because we're still in a plane. We can't do that yet. How do you know this worked? And it's going to look like what we have here. Simple. If you press our object mode, click out so you can see what you're doing. I'm going to look at my all 4 angles. So you see these lines here? That's not good. That's not a flat plane. To fix that, all you do is zoom out, vertex, right click vertex, select it, and when you press R, you just flatten it. You drag it all the way across like this, and if you press object mode again, now you no longer have those outline, those extra vertices out of line. They're perfectly. Now this is very important. When I do this, if you ever see me doing this, it's because I want to make sure that the geometry is always clean and that it doesn't overload your Maya. Because if you keep going and going and going and you have 10 different pieces with all this, you forget about it, you export it, whoever's going to work on your 3D model is going to have all that trash. And what I mean is all this up here. Look at all that stuff that I've done. You see all that stuff? That's all I've done. Imagine that if you're doing a robot and all of them have all that trash, that's going to be the weight of your model. You don't want that. So what we do is we edit, delete all by type or delete by type history, edit, delete by type non-deformer, modify, freeze your transformations, modify, and you're going to center your pivot. And in this case, you should be saving if you're working on a project. Again, I'm doing this just for learning purposes. So, I'm not saving. This is just for you guys. So now that I'm happy that I've done everything, look at how it looks now. Just like how we started. There's nothing extra. Now if I press Command E, I'm going to pull it to the thickness that I think it needs, which I think that's what I'm happy with. And right click, object mode. Now you see what happened here? Now that line is centered, but your model is not. You're going to go to object mode, edit, history, non-deformer, and center the pivot, W. Now you see where your center pivot is? You want that to be in line with these darker lines. You see that it cross and everything else is lighter. So you're going to click once here. You're going to drag it to the middle and unclick it. Why? Because if you forget, it's going to be a pain in your butt. Like the one we're working on. So now, what do we have here? If we press the number 3, it's going to give you a smooth look. That's not bad at all. That's what we're trying to go for. You see what I mean? And I haven't done the rest of the process. This, needs a little bit more coverage. I still haven't extruded the extra pieces before I do anything else. So let's go press the number 1. It'll take you back to what it is. Now here, you're going to want to insert about 3. 3. Let's start with 3. I'm going to show you what I mean. Mesh tools, insert edge loop, double click, and we're going to change the 1 to a 3, and we're going to pop it right here. What is that? Well, if we press object mode and we press 3, Q and 3, 3, that looks good. But if we press 1, no butt of a gun looks like this. So what are we going to do? We're going to click from here. Let me zoom out a little bit. Shift double click. Shift click. Shift double click. And we're going to press W and we're going to bring that down. Let's do it with these final 2 here so that it flows instead of just dropping off. So I think that's fine. And we're going to do the same thing in the middle. So we're going to go click, shift double click, shift click, shift double click, and we're going to also bring that down. You know what? Let's leave that. Let's do the middle one. This is going to help us even more. Shift, click, shift, double click, and we're going to bring this one up. Why? If I press the number 3, now we got a curvature. Not like the bottom. We got a nice, simple curve. So if I press 1, that's fine for me. And here, I'm going to do the same thing with the bottom. So vertex, click, shift double click, shift click, shift double click. You're gonna bring that down. Click, shift double click, and we're gonna bring that bad boy down. Now by doing this, if I press 3, we have a good looking model. Object mode is a nice looking model. If I press 1 and look at the side here with the space bar, it's a little bit, you know what? It's not actually that bad. But we need to bring it up a bit. So what are we going to do? We're going to click all of this space and we're going to push it up. So we're going to try to accommodate that as much as we can. to about there, which then we're gonna have to modify a bit, which is not a problem. So let's just remodify this a bit. We're gonna modify the vertices. We're gonna do the same thing here. We're just gonna drag it in the middle and push it up. The point of everything that you do in 3D modeling is to try and get geometry that's in a straight line as much as you can. Sometimes it can't be helped, but in cases like this, let's say I want it there. I'm gonna take these two and I'm gonna push it over, and I'm gonna leave that there, and I'm gonna keep pushing these up till I get to the one to the final one. So that's fine. That's fine for me. Right there. Right there. We're almost done, guys. Right here. And the final one is gonna be right there. And again, now I'm gonna take the line that flows in the middle, and I'm gonna slide this one up to center it, because by pushing up, sometimes you can get nasty geometry, and we don't want that. So let's see how that looks. Object mode. Let's see how that looks. If I press the number 3, perfect. See that? Perfect. So let's say you want, how do we proceed? Okay, we'll avoid the circle for now. Let's just continue with the basics. I'll probably do then an advanced one to make sure that we at least get a basic butt done. This is extra details that we can add on later. So now, if I press, let me see this. This is clean. Okay, we have to fix this here. You see, we don't want that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this, we're gonna push it here, this here, and we're gonna push this one around here, and this one a bit more. Bring this here. Okay, let's try this. Okay, so let's say I'm happy with this. I'm gonna do the insert here for the screw so you can see how I would do it. And then we'll get to UVing and then showing you how to set it up in Substance Painter. So let's go. So here you're gonna have to be more careful. So this is where I use my perspective view. I take the painter here. If you click on it, it tells you what it is, the paint selection. Right click face, and I'm gonna start click out the tool, and now you can paint as much as you want. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to avoid selecting the back because it also has this kind of look and it'll extrude and damage it. But by doing this, you only select what you need. Press Q. Now I'm gonna press W. Now this is up to your discretion to how deep it's gonna go. But if you press W, shift click and drag, shift click and push, shift click and push one more time. R, hold down shift and drag your R, and here we go. If I press 3, bam. This is what we're looking for, guys. This is what the butt of the gun should look like. If I press 1, it's still squared. So what we can do here is, if you press, let me fix something before we get out of here. Let me push this down, guys, because if you see it, it's out of the silhouette. We do not want that. So let's just fix our silhouette. We're gonna do just like we did at the bottom here. We're gonna do it to make sure that the silhouette is in good shape. Again, try to keep those UVs as straight as possible. Sometimes you can't help it, believe me. But if you follow what I'm doing, you'll see that when I export just the geometry, it's gonna be nice and clean. we're gonna leave the rest of the gun for another moment. I should be uploading videos once or twice a week to make sure that you guys have something to look at. But once I'm happy with this, if I press mesh and smooth, I want it a bit smooth. I'm very picky. I'm gonna push it one more time. So you see that I have the Pac-Man look. If I want to go faster my way, all I hold down is shift and click and drag and I'll go a bit faster. So let's say this is what I'm looking at. I'm happy with it, right? So now let's get to the UV part. This is another thing you're gonna find that in 3ds Max is a pain in the freaking frijoles, the butthole. We don't want to look around for everything and click extra. We don't want that. We want to get straight to the meat and potatoes and and UV and export and get it out of the way. This is what I tried to explain to a company that didn't want to switch from 3ds Max to Maya. It costs the same thing, and it simplifies when you want to do UV and animation and other stuff. It's not just limited to modeling and work around animation like I had to do in 3ds Max, where if I wanted to animate a whole shotgun, I had to create NURBs around the objects. It was too much work. No. Here, I'm going to go to UV, camera based. I'm going to go back to object mode. Click out of it. UV editor. It's showing me what my model is supposed to look like. This is what you want. Without too much runaround, while that's still open, I can just move around and say, okay, edge. So here we're going to have to think how we want to unwrap this, guys. This is very important because depending on what you're trying to do, it can make or break your model. So I'm going to click here, double click. That's fine for me. Okay, so I'm just moving around the camera by holding shift and right click and shift and middle click to move, zoom, rotate, the basic functions of 3D modeling. So with those two selected, okay. I'm analyzing, guys, because I did this before and I had textures where it was and it's gonna happen, but I don't want it to happen too much. Where when you add the texture, it cuts off and it looks nasty. But let's just do this with common sense. Okay, so I'm gonna click here, double click here, shift, double click. Every time I'm adding, I'm holding out shift so you can see it's a continuance. Now here is where we're gonna have to be very careful and see what we want to do. So I'm gonna shift, double click, so continue there. Shift, double click, and shift, double click here. Now, as you can see, I can see what I've selected, and I'm happy with that. I'm gonna go back on what I did here, because if you see, if I cut that off, it's gonna be loose. We don't want that. We want a continuance of the model. So this is how easy it is. If I come here, now press cut, all I do is just press cut. It'll show you where it cut, so you can further know what you're doing. I'm gonna right click, make sure it's on UV shell, click it once. If it's one shell, it's all gonna turn a color. If not, it's gonna blink because it's gonna be two separate pieces, so we did it right. We're gonna press unfold. And then what we're gonna do is optimize it. And we're gonna come down here to where it says arrange and layout. Before I lay it out, I want to UV shell. I'm gonna press E and straighten it out as much as I can. You know what, let's say this way. I want it to be this way here, because this is the way I want the grain to go. And if I press layout, boom, guys. It's laid out. I don't have to wonder if it's in there. I don't have to guess. I don't have to. It's in there. Now, in this case, I'm going to move it up. And by the way, whenever you're texturing, anything that's out of the 120 space, which is this red and green, is going to give you a lot of problems when you export it and try to texture it. I'm going to show you that. If I press W, I want it right in the center. That's because we're just doing the butt. If we have more stuff, we would accommodate it, and I would have shown you how. But this is good for me. I'm going to close this. Right click object mode. Now what I told you about cleaning up, look at all this crap. We don't want all that. So before we export this out, we're going to go edit, delete by type history, non-deformer, modify freeze, modify center pivot, and okay. So if you want to know what's next, you will press file, export selection. You know, if you're working, like I said before, on a project file, it should show you where it's going. So let's go with this, and I'm gonna go with example, delete that, press 4, keep it as a FBX, and in another video I'll explain why, but for now just go with FBX. Press export selection. I put it on my desktop. I'm not gonna close this because then I'm gonna show you how it is to apply the materials, like again, instead of 3ds Max that it's a pain in the behind. So I'm going to minimize that, and I'm going to open my Substance Painter. I need a drink, excuse me.
Pepsi.
Sorry about that. So, if you've never used Substance Painter, this is going to be just a quick overlay of what you can do. There's many things you can do, trust me. But this is going to be very simple. If you can see, I have some stuff here, and it hasn't loaded a lot of other stuff that I have here, so it's going to take a bit. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to File, New. You're going to select, okay, before. Let me cancel this. I usually keep this at this. PBR Metallic Roughness, Alpha Blend Starter. Alpha Blend, I want it because sometimes some of the stuff that I use has transparency, and that's gonna, the Alpha Blend is gonna come with this. You don't have to add it separately. So I'm gonna select my model. I'm gonna go to my desktop, and I'm gonna go with the 4 that we just opened, and 4096 because I like working in 4K. I try not to touch everything else, guys, unless you don't know how to unwrap. Then this has an auto unwrap, but it doesn't work too well. It'll destroy what you have, so I don't click none of this. So let's say, okay, I got my model, I got my size. Okay, it's gonna take a few. Boom, baby. There is the butt of your Tommy gun. I was about to say shotgun. You want to know if your UV worked? All you take is a piece of wood. And do I have any loaded already? You see, I have a lot of stuff, guys. So let me just find a decent piece of wood so I can just drag and drop it. No wood yet? What in the world? Oh, here it is, because it's still loading. Like I told you guys, I have a lot of stuff because I used to design Land Rover Defender interiors. So I basically created a lot of leathers to match the patterns that we offer to our clients. So I have all of that in my collection. As you can see, I have diamond, lines, more lines, the names. I have a lot of stuff. But let's go with this wood. And this is what you get, guys. You see how clean that looks? This is what you want every time when you UV a model. I don't know, with 3ds Max it was not this easy. Actually, the company that I had didn't want to work with Maya, and I don't know why. And I know sometimes it's hard for people who work with 3ds Max to learn something else. But if I can do it, anyone can do it, especially at my age. If you don't know, I'm 45 years old. And I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly cramming stuff in my brain. So when people say that age makes a difference, it does not. It's the talent, the perseverance, and the hard work that you want to put into it. Like I did with 3ds Max. is just not good enough. So if I hold down shift, click and drag, I can get this to be smaller, which is not a good idea. Let's keep it around here. So now if I go shift, click and drag, look at this. You can see that all the way around. The lighting is great. You can even see the shininess. Let's try something else. Before, this is just for me to show you that it works. But before you do anything, when you first import your model, you want to bake certain things into it that you might need. So for example, I usually select everything. In this case, I don't have a opacity. I do want height, so I'm going to keep height. I don't have any thickness, curvature, but let's just keep it anyway. Let's just say this is what you're doing. If you have opacity, you add it on. The important thing is you have, and this is cool, you can bake up to 8K. It takes a bit longer. I'm not going to do it in this video because it takes long. But I usually press 8K so that when you guys see it, it's impressive. So I'm going to do 4K now. And important here, anti-aliasing, I usually do 8 by 8. It takes a bit longer, but I just want you guys to see how good it looks. And I'm just going to bake the selected textures, which is let me know that I have 8 out of 10 selected. So bake. You're going to see the whole process play out for you right here. And I'm doing 8 by 8 because it's only the butt of the gun. If it was the whole shotgun, I might do 2 or 4, 2 by 2 or 4 by 4 instead of 8 by 8. Again, I'm working on Mac, and my Mac has an i9, plus it has 128 gigs of RAM, so it's a beast. This is why it's going so fast. If you have a slower computer, I suggest you don't go so high, to make sure that it doesn't crash. But right now it's working. It's already on the 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 8 that I've chosen, so it's going pretty quick. Right now you can see this is ambient occlusion. Right now it doesn't mean much, but if let's say you had the screw in the hole that we made and the screw, I mean the washer and the screw, all that will produce its own ambient occlusion. For certain things you don't need it. For example, if you're gonna upload it to Sketchfab, you don't need it. If you don't know what Sketchfab is, I have my link below. You should see it. It's pretty cool if you want to display your 3D work and have people look at it, rotate it. But if you look in here, you see the ambient occlusion. So if let's say if I would have put the washer, it would have had the shadow of the washer and the shadow of the screw. So let's say you're gonna import it into a game and the game doesn't create ambient occlusion, it's already included for you. But it's almost done. Again, this is taking long because I chose 8 by 8, just to show you guys the quality of what we can do. It's at 50%. It should fly by. I don't see why it's taking so long, but it's going. So let's just let it work. And when it's done, then I'll show you guys the rest of the process. How to export it, and then how to apply it in Maya. So let's wait for this to be done. It looks like it's gonna take forever, but it's not. So while we wait, like I said, I began with graphic design. I've been doing graphic design for 13 years. I graduated in Puerto Rico. I got my associates in graphic design in Puerto Rico. And I started going to Full Sail University for computer animations. And as soon as I graduated, about a month later, I got my job creating 3D Land Rover Defenders, interior and exterior for high-profile clients. So that's why you see on my left side, you'll see a lot of leathers and a lot of stuff. It's because that was my first 3D job. So we're almost there. We're at 75%. So yeah, so 3D is what you make it, guys. You have to be willing to put in the effort. You have to be willing to think outside the box, because sometimes people expect it to be magic. It is and it is not. It's magic because you can show something that many people maybe had an idea and had never seen. And it is not magic when somebody wants you to guess what they want. and you don't have anything to research it on. For example, they give you a picture of a gun from the side view. You have to rough guess it unless they give you anything else to go on, to figure out what's on the other side, what's on the bottom, what's on the top. Um, and sometimes that's where things can become a little bit complicated. But if you love 3D modeling, it's a lot of fun because it gives your mind something to do and look forward to. And when you do the final presentation, it's very impressive. Again, especially if they give you very little to go on. So we're almost done with this. It's a 75. It says 75%, but it's going. It's going. Next time I won't go 8 by 8 in the anti-aliasing, but I like that because let's say if you do fur or something, it's gonna have a clean anti-alias, or anything that sticks out is gonna have nice anti-alias instead of rough, fake looking anti-aliasing, or none at all. So here we go. After this, it should zip through. Give it about a minute. This part shouldn't take so long, see? So it's gonna jump to 100 from 87. Okay, this is what we have. Now, anything that I place on this butt is gonna look perfect. Let's just say I want to be weird and put the membrane on it. If we zoom into this, look at that quality. So let's see how weird that looks, but it looks cool. And if you click once on other ones, it'll show you what it looks like. This is kind of alien growth. It's weird. So if you click once, it's gonna apply it. You see how clean that looks, as close as I can get. And this is 4K. I didn't go to 8K, so 8K will look much better than what I'm showing you here. But I think, let's say I'm happy with that. Yeah, that looks cool. I think that looks weird and slimy enough. Anything that we apply now, it's gonna look great. I'm just again, I'm squeezing through so that you guys can see that no matter what I do, it's gonna look good. Now I'm gonna pick something and I'm gonna export it so you guys can see how it works in Maya. So let's go with this wood. So now you see when you zoom in, you see how all those details catch gloss. If I move the light on, you'll see what I mean. You see that? This is what we want. We want nice clean geometry. Here, I didn't worry too much about this part because remember this is going to be covered by another piece that I didn't add on, but that's why I chose this to be my cut area. Because I know this is going to be covered by something and it's not going to matter. So let's just say this is the choice that you wanted for your, but you know what, let's go with something more interesting, guys, so I can show you something cool. Let's see, everything's loaded. I'm going to type metal, METEL, and I'm going to pick something weird so that we can see how it looks in Maya, to show you how, when I was trying to explain to this company that I was working for, that Maya is worth the effort to learn. Let's say this is a gun that we found somewhere and it's rusty and it's corroded and it's been thrown somewhere. It's not even wood, it's just a metal gun. Let me delete the one from below because I have two now. So let's just say I'm happy with this. I found this somewhere in a gutter and I'm happy with this. We've been exploring and we're happy with this. Okay. That's how cool. In case you guys are ever want to see how it looks like in the render here in Substance, just press rendering iRay, and you can take a look at how it will look in an environment. We can get more quality out of this. There's a few settings that I normally do, but I'm not gonna do it now for purposes of just getting you guys rolling. But if you can see, look how this flows. Even though I broke the material there, you can see it here, but on this side, it took a very good flow. So let's go back to painting mode. Now this is the important part, guys. You're gonna export it to a certain folder. So file, export textures. So the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna come here, make sure that, see, because it's on Amazon Lumberyard, I'm not using it for Amazon. I'm gonna just keep it metallic, roughness, and folders. I'm gonna click on that. So it's gonna give me everything that I need, alpha and everything. Now here, you're gonna pick where you want it. I'm gonna go to desktop. Where's my desktop? Tommy Gun Textures, which is that. But I'm gonna do another one in here. So I'm gonna call this V4 textures. Enter. I'm gonna press open. That's where I want it. Now here I want with alpha, because I always, just in case, have something that has a hole or holes or a mesh with cuts. I want that. So I always choose that based on output template. I pick the size. Let's say I'm gonna go with 4K on this, and I'm happy with this, and I'm gonna press export. It's gonna run the whole list down. Save your settings. I'm gonna minimize this. We're gonna go back to Maya. How simple is this? We're gonna do some prep work first. Assign new material. Let's give it a standard surface 1. I'm gonna press 6. You'll see why in a minute. So in standard surface, everything you need is gonna pop up. So the first thing we're gonna plug in is the color. We're gonna click the checkered box, file, the folder, desktop, Tommy Gun, V4, color. It looks like this because we don't have any light in our scene. But okay, number one, let's do this. Let's go to Arnold. We're gonna press play. Okay, you're not gonna see nothing if I press play. Why? Because for Arnold to work, you're gonna need a light. So Arnold, light, and let's give it a sky dome. Look at that. You can't get this in 3ds. It was a pain in the behind. It was always an issue. The lighting was weird. I just couldn't deal with it. Now, if you click on it again and click surface, now you can select the roughness. So let's go to your roughness, file, click on the folder, desktop, the whole process again, V4. Now we're gonna go with roughness. Roughness, right? Yes, roughness. Open. So now if you rotate, you can see the variety in roughness. But it's not saying much now because, again, we haven't added the bump maps. So, let's do that. Click on the gun again. Now here, you can plug in the metalness, file, folder, desktop, Tommy 4 metallic. Click on it one more time. Now we're gonna find, so on the geometry, you're gonna find the bump mapping. We're gonna click it once, file. Now here you're gonna have to click on the play button and then the folder. Desktop, Tommy, and we're gonna find the height. Yep, that's the height. If you don't like that part, what we can do is we can come here and change it to the normal and see what we get. Instead of that big crunchy nasty looking bump, let's try normal. Yeah, no, normal's not doing it. So we're gonna have to go with the bump map, guys. But the point is, if you see, it looks like what we were looking at over there. Holy, no. No, something's off, guys. Let's go back. Let's get rid of that. Let's click it one more time. Let's go to the bump mapping again. And let's see if it works this time. Let's go with height. It should work now. No, I did something wrong. The point was that you saw that it worked. It's not working now because for some reason I did what I did wrong. So let's go all the way back to take everything off to where it was gray, and then we'll work on this. So in this case, I'm going all the way back so that you guys can see that Maya has unlimited. Oops, ah, Jesus, it went all the way back. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, let's assign a new material, guys. This is what I like about working live. Let's assign a new material, and let's start from fresh. Arnold, standard surface. Arnold, light, sky dome light, so we can get our light again. And let's go back. Sorry about that, guys. But this is the stuff that it's cool about working live, because mistakes can be fixed and then you can see how to fix them. Let's start with the bump mapping. File, play. This time we're not going to change the bump map. We're going to keep the high one so we don't go through the same. Open. It's going to take a few seconds to work. You know what, guys? No, it didn't work. So let's do something. Let's file, import, desktop. Let's import the one we worked on, because for what I'm seeing, the geometry didn't work when I went back too much on the other one. So let's say AI standard surface. Let's add the AI standard surface. Nope, we don't want that. Let's assign a new one altogether. New Arnold surface. Here we go. So now, this is things that sometimes you have to work around and not waste too much time if it happens. So again, let's go back to the bump mapping. File. We're going to press play. The folder. Desktop. And let's go with the height now. This is your height. It should work now because I imported the fresh model. The other one lost all of its flavor. And here we go, guys. That's what we want. So now, let's go with the color. File. Here. Desktop. Tommy. 4. Base color. And this is what we should get. You see that, guys? That's what I was trying to get at before. I think by adding the metallic, I kind of damaged what it was supposed to look like, so I'm not going to do that this time. I am going to add the roughness. And we're going to do that the same way. Desktop, Tommy, 4, and we're going to go with the roughness PNG. And this is what I'm talking about when you compare Maya to 3ds Max. You get a complete, exact look of what you did already. There's no second guessing. And by the way, if I delete the sky dome light and I insert this, you guys are gonna love this. I get a physical sky. And this physical sky is basically what they use in Unity, Call of Duty. Let's just say this is the only problem I do have with this, is that it say if I want to work with this, it didn't delete the sky, don't I? No, it didn't. That's why. Let's delete this. Arnold light physical sky. So now I can have the intensity up. Let's say in a game, you want to see how it looks. So I would show you what it looks like if it was in the sky in a game. There's a lot of options here. Let's azimuth. So you can mess with the azimuth, and it can show you what it's going to look like in the surrounding area. So that's what that looks like. So yeah, guys, so thank you for watching the video. Basically, you saw that I did everything in Maya, in between Maya and Substance Painter. I did not have to do anything outside of these two softwares because it's not necessary. 3ds Max forces you to do things. For example, when we started the video, all I did was import the texture. It's a big run around in 3ds Max. You do not want to waste time for your company, and you do not want to waste time for your co-workers having to wait for something as simple as you importing an image reference. So thank you for watching. Again, I am known as the Rum Soaked Pirate. Stay tuned for the next video. I should be uploading these once or twice a week. If you have something you want to see, again, message me, email me, let me know. I'm also going to be adding merchandise to the site soon of my Rum Soaked Pirate merchandise. And you guys have a great night. Take it easy, guys.